Hi class, as promised, we're jumping right into learning styles. What's really important and key to becoming a better student is really understanding the learning styles you prefer and also being able to adapt and learn new styles. A lot of the information I'm getting are from the textbook that this class is based on, which is Becoming a Master Student, and I've also used resources from the textbook on course. So first and foremost, this is how we learn. We first perceive and take information in, and then we process information and make sense of and understand the information that we get. So people generally perceive information typically through what's called concrete experience or abstract conceptualization. Okay, so concrete experience is liking to absorb and get information using the senses, like seeing or hearing or feeling. You rely on intuition and intellect. Students tend to do better in courses where they can take initiative, maybe less structure, where they're hands-on. Now, abstract conceptualization, that's a little bit more different, where analysis and intellectualizing and creating theories is done. Scientific and theoretical approaches are used, and students in this environment tend to do better in the traditional classroom type environment with lectures and reading and studying, whereas with the concrete, students can do a lot more, be a lot more successful hands-on or using their senses. Okay. As far as processing information, people typically process information through either active experimentation or reflective observation. So with active experimentation, as far as the processing, folks like to jump right in and start doing. Folks are results oriented. They don't mind taking risks and like to apply what they're learning. Now, for those who prefer reflective observation, they kind of want to stand back and see what's happening. They want to consider other viewpoints. Instead of jumping right in, they value patience, good judgment, and understanding. Now, how can you benefit from this? Well, we all have preferred learning modes, but what we've learned is that you can actually learn better if you are open and can learn all modes. So again, while we have a preferred learning style, or we may have preferred learning modes, if you're able to use multiple learning styles and learning modes, it can give you different perspectives and learn a lot better. So, for example, by incorporating concrete experience, you're really being more open, looking at things without bias. By looking at reflective observation, you're able to observe and reflect on different points of view of a subject or what you're learning. Through abstract conceptualization, you're able to integrate your observations into logically sound theories. And active experimentation enables you to take a look at the theories to make decisions, solve problems, and take action. So again, we can all benefit from incorporating multiple learning styles into our learning, even if that means making us, if that means we're not as comfortable or we don't prefer it as much. Using those different learning styles can be really helpful, especially if your teacher or your instructor might teach in a way that isn't conducive to your learning style. by kind of putting yourselves into other learning styles or trying other learning styles. It may help you become more successful as a student. And we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later in the lecture. So just to kind of put it in different terms and to give you a little bit of a summary of the learning styles and perceiving information and processing information, a good way to think of concrete experience is more feeling. Okay, abstract conceptualization is more thinking, or so if you're a feeler or are you a thinker as far as your learning style. Now, as far as processing, there's active experimentation, which is more doing or for doers, and then reflective observation for people who want to watch and observe. Okay. So how can you apply this to college or to work or to life? Again, you're going to run into situations or encounters where your preferred learning mode isn't used, or you might encounter something that's different from how you've learned in the past, right? So if your instructor is teaching like in a way that if you're visual, if all they're doing is talking and lecturing, you might want to ask for examples or visual feedback. Maybe you ask certain questions to help clarify things more. So again, in college, whether it's here or when you transfer to a university, you run into situations where your learning style isn't being used. Think of other ways in which you can help get clarification, whether it's asking questions or getting examples. Know that you don't being uncomfortable is part of learning. And struggle is part of the learning process. We don't necessarily know everything, so just know that that's okay. The key is not to give up on it. Grit is something we'll talk about later in the semester, but if there's something that you're struggling with or uncomfortable with, it just may take a little extra time, or it may be something that might not be a strength or a preference of yours, but stick with it. If it's something that's being taught or explained in a way that isn't in line with your learning style, again, you can kind of use strategies like asking questions. Maybe you want to get the perspective of a classmate to get their view of it. Maybe they have a different learning style than you do, and they can explain it in a different way. Okay. Another key to learning styles is it could determine your major or your career that you look into. So a particular type of learning could be more conducive to certain majors. So you can also play to your strengths and find majors. If you're a visual person or if you're a hands-on type person, you can look at potential careers and majors that are kind of in line with your preferred method of learning. And again, I want to emphasize this. One of the best things that you can do is connect with someone in your classes that has a different learning style, and that way you can get a perspective that's a little bit different than yours that can maybe explain things in a different way than you see them. All right. So Dr. Howard Gardner of Harvard is a renowned scholar talking about multiple intelligences, and I've posted a video on Canvas that Dr. Gardner has on multiple intelligence. So these are a list of the different types of intelligences. So you should learn to understand and embrace multiple intelligences and strengths. So one example is verbal and linguistic, learning by speaking. Mathematical and logical, being good with numbers, logic, and problem solving. Visual learners, spatial learners, think with images and pictures. They might like graphs and charts and maps. Kinesthetic learners or body learners learn through hands-on experience or physical activity. So you might want to put things together or work hands-on like a mechanic would or a surgeon. Musical, rhythmic, folks respond to hearing things or by sound. So that could be through song, it could be through audiobooks. Intrapersonal, being aware of your own values and feelings, so understanding yourself. Interpersonal, being able to empathize and be sensitive to the feelings and intentions and motivations of other people, so interpersonal skills. And then naturalists, folks who thrive with the details of outdoors and animals, rocks, clouds, nature. Folks have different strengths and intelligences, which is what Dr. Gardner talks about. And really it's important. In this class, we do a lot of self-exploration so that you can understand your skills as well as understand the things that you can work on as well. So to wrap, I posted a discussion about identifying your learning style and your preferred way of learning. So would like for you to participate in that discussion and also respond to at least one classmate for participation credit, and also so that you can interact with your classmates. Know that different ways of learning can be adjusted, and if your preferred way of learning is not being used, learn to be able to be flexible and understand the different learning styles. If you're having trouble in a course, it's okay to give instructor feedback and say, hey, I'm not really understanding. Usually most of them are pretty empathetic and open to feedback. Some are not, but if you're someone who gives feedback, usually instructors will listen to that so that their students can learn better. If need be, attend your instructor's office hours to get more clarification. Collaborate with classmates to get different perspectives. And it's also great, especially if they have a different learning preference or style than you do. But also you can learn a lot from people with similar learning preferences and styles as well. So be sure to participate in the discussion and go ahead and watch the video on multiple intelligences as well. And we'll have another lecture later in the week.